Okay, so I'm not gonna cry in this video, although I'm sure for some they might find that funny, for others they might find that horrifying. Whatever the case may be, I'm not gonna cry for this one. But I did want to speak on something that I found to be very important, and I think many people probably should hear, regarding as far as being a nerd. But obviously, if you're clicking on this channel, on this video, high probability you're an anime and manga nerd, or video game nerd, or somewhere within the realm, or you enjoy them, somewhat or whatnot. That's probably the realm that you're in. And yeah, when you're, a nerd, or you indulge in nerdy things, it's okay to be a nerd. I know. Some people, I'm not a nerd. Shut up, you're a nerd. If you're in this realm in some form or another, there's a nerd in you, and that's okay. But as far as dating goes, as far as being a nerd or having nerdy interests and dating people out there, especially in these times right now, boy, is it so difficult. It's probably the most difficult that it's ever been to be a nerd and be out in the dating field, because there's just so many obstacles. And on top of the fact of, you don't know who's who, what's what, who's really into this thing, who's faking it. And not that you necessarily need to be into anime and manga. Said this before, but you don't need to be into anime and manga or into my nerdy passions to be with me. We don't need to be twins to be together. Some people, I think, get that misconstrued. Some people look at it as oh, but we have to be aligned. Being aligned can necessarily be, we have the same type of values, same type of morals. We're on the same type of timing of wanting to be a good person. We don't have to be twinsies to be, dating. So I don't want people to think that, when they watch this video, oh, he's saying if you're not into anime and manga that you can't be. No. Maybe you're into something totally different. Maybe you got your own nerdy passions, whatever the case may be. But usually, when you are aligned, you guys have some type of commonality. Maybe you might not be into anime and manga, but you'll still be a nerd in some form or another. Maybe you're into American comics. Maybe you're the Batman, Supermans, or you like the Spider-Mans, whatever the case may be. So you'll still kind of be aligned anyways. It'll just be with different type of hobbies or whatnot. But I say all that to say that even with all that, you don't necessarily need to have that type of thing. And I'd rather somebody just be honest where, as far as their interests or whatnot, than lie to me. There was once upon a time, there was somebody that I was seeing that actually, faked the funk, so to speak, and was pretending to kind of oh yeah, no, we the anime stuff, yeah. And then you come to find out, it's oh, you don't really care about this stuff at all. You was just faking the funk. You gotta put it into this person right here's perspective, right? This person right here's perspective, my perspective, Tim's perspective in this dating arena. And obviously everybody has their own obstacles or whatnot. You gotta put in the fact that, one, okay, into my nerdy stuff, you don't need to be a nerd, right? But still, I got my nerdy things that I'm into. So usually my eyes kind of look towards people that are somewhere within that realm. Then on top of the fact that you got to be worried about well, is this person interested in me? Or is this person interested in, my financial status? What are they looking at? Are they interested in my fame, for whatever that is worth? Never cared about fame. Ask anybody that personally knows me. It's fame don't mean nothing at the end of the day. Whenever I've gotten recognized on the streets, I've always very, very much so appreciated it. And sure, it makes me feel good, but there's a certain part of me that is oh, but that's not something, because I've never wanted to be famous or a celebrity or anything like that. If it came along with what I'm doing, then so be it. But, never really cared about that. But you don't know if somebody else cares about that and they're looking for that type of thing. You know what I'm saying? There's just so many different variables. If you're a parent, how they're going to feel about you having a child. There's so many different things. And again, in particular, I guess just speaking on my circumstances, I've just been there's so many sides to the coin of dating and being a nerd and dating and whatnot. Because like on one side of things, all right, you don't need to be a nerd, and sometimes in fact if you're not into nerdy things, honestly sometimes it might be preferable. Maybe, you know, I want to, after I'm doing my ForneverWorld stuff and talking about my anime and watching my anime and reading my manga and whatnot, maybe I want to put that world to the side and be with somebody, you know, that just is in a whole different realm or whatnot, which is also something that's doable, right? But the thing about it is, there's oftentimes people that aren't into nerdy stuff. They usually look down on people that are into nerdy stuff and think that they're better than people that are into nerdy stuff. That's been my experience. I've seen several occasions where people think like, oh, I'm nerd stuff, get out of here, bro, you a little nerd, get out of my face type of deal. And I'm like, okay. But then going back to the nerdy situation, I'll give you a perfect example right here. One of my best friends that I talk to, when we speak, and sometimes we'll speak at great lengths, or when I go over to his to kick it or whatnot, you know, we speak all damn night, having a good time, chilling and talking and all that stuff. We speak sometimes 4 or 5 hours straight or whatnot. We almost never talk about anime and manga outside of when I talk about the channel, when I talk about things of that aspect. But we never have like this deep and complex conversation about an anime or a manga series or whatnot. Despite the fact that we both know about anime, we're both into anime, and yet most of the topics usually be stuff like this, talking about love, talking about relationships, things of that nature. We just don't really talk about anime and manga. So again, the whole thing of like needing to be, you know, and maybe people having the notion of like, oh, if I date that person, does that mean I gotta talk about anime? What? Yeah, babe, we're gonna be laying in bed and, oh, babe, please whisper more to me about how Naruto Shippuden episode 433 is the greatest episode of all time. Please moan it in my ear. Like, that's not realistic. People don't do that, and for the most part, you don't need to be nerdy to have that commonality. Honestly, I say all that to say, I feel like you just need to find somebody on a person-to-person basis, kind of putting that, oh, if you're not an anime fan or you are an anime fan, as like just blanket broad statements doesn't really do justice, because there's so many different people. Like, yo, bro, I dated somebody that was such a baddie, bro. I'll tell you right now, flat out, like hot, like to me was like the most, oh my god. And she was into like, yo, because you know when you couples or whatnot, sometimes, you know, you look at some little bit of raunchy stuff or whatnot. And I remember this one time she pulls up hen. I'm not gonna finish that word. And I remember thinking to myself like, yo, is she testing me right now? Because personally, just being honest with you, do I really care about seeing hen? Not really. That's really not my thing. And again, I thought at the time like, is she like wanting, like, what the heck? Because again, you never expect like a really hot and attractive woman that isn't the most biggest anime fan to suddenly, you know, pull something like that out. So I'm like, okay, Japanese cartoon, sure. And as the time is going by, I remember just realizing like, oh, she actually really is into this. What the heck? And again, that's not really my forte, so it was just kind of a really awkward thing. Like, I'm the anime person, this person's not, but they're really like, what's going on here? So really, you just gotta find the person that actually genuinely likes you, like the person that actually really wants to be with you, that isn't faking the funk, that isn't putting on a facade, that isn't any of that stuff. Because just because they're an anime fan doesn't necessarily mean they're the one. Just because they're not an anime fan, because I noticed that anime and manga fans, nerds in general, they feel like they need the acceptance of outsiders, of people that aren't within the culture, to kind of feel validated somehow. It's like, oh, you know, this person is totally opposite of me, and that'll validate me in that world. Like, that's silly. That's nonsense. You don't need validation from anybody. Like, just be yourself or whatnot. But yeah, I don't know, I just kind of wanted to talk about this because of recent dealings, recent stuff that I've been going through with my own love life, my own romantic stuff that's been going on. And yeah, find someone that's actually into you, that's actually single, that genuinely really does like you or whatnot. And that's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld Tim. Have an awesome day. Peace in.